The Super Mario Bros. Franchise turned 40 years old this past weekend, and to celebrate that, Nintendo dedicated a pretty hefty segment of the latest Direct to their flagship franchise. However, responses to the announcements have been middling, let's call it that. It definitely wasn't nothing, but I think most people were expecting, or at least hoping, for a little more than what we ended up getting. And that made me wonder, how out of tune is this celebration really? So I went back in time and looked at how Nintendo previously celebrated Mario's Anniversaries, just to see how much of an outlier the 40th actually is. And that means we need to go back exactly 20 years, because the very first time Nintendo celebrated Mario's birthday, so to speak, was in 2005, when the series turned 20 years old. Interestingly enough, this is the only Mario anniversary that isn't exactly called as such in the West, because even though the Japanese name is simply Super Mario 20th Anniversary, the English title was Happy Mario 20th. Bit of a weird and clunky name, to be honest. What is noteworthy though is that the logo introduced for it is more or less the same one as has since been repeatedly used, save for one exception. Anyway, this was obviously a completely different time. The GBA and the GameCube were the new systems. This was a literal decade prior to the first Nintendo Direct, and the internet and social media weren't really the same as they are now either. Meaning that rather than turn this into some multimedia celebration, Nintendo used it more as a way to release some nifty merchandise. But only if you were in Japan. Yeah, for some reason the vast majority of the new announcements for the 20th anniversary were Japan exclusives. Like the star of the celebration, a Game Boy Micro colored like a Famicom, with a matching re-release of the GBA port for Super Mario Bros. This port of the classic had been released worldwide a year prior, but the re-release for the anniversary was Japan exclusive. The same goes for the soundtrack album, the Happy Mario 20th Super Mario Sound Collection, which was essentially a compilation of some of the series' most beloved tracks at the time, featuring tunes from every Super Mario game. So was there then nothing for the rest of the world to enjoy? Well, there was a line of Mario keychains given away in select restaurants, and that select restaurant was only Hungry Jack's, the Australian version of Burger King, basically. By the time Europe and America finally received something to celebrate 2005, it was December and almost 2006, as Mario Tennis Power Tour released for GBA and was considered to be a Mario 20th anniversary game, seeing as it was included in the original Japanese trailer. Around the same time, Dr. Mario and Puzzle League also released for the handheld, another game that fell under the 20th anniversary banner. So yeah, not the strongest start to say the least, but okay, let's keep a cool head. 20 years is great and all, but it's hardly worth a massive worldwide celebration. 25th though, that's a landmark, a silver anniversary as they say. So what did Nintendo do for this joyous occasion? Well, a ton really. The flagship this time around was undoubtedly Super Mario All-Stars Limited Edition, however. A version of Super Mario All-Stars for the Wii that came in a physical box and with a booklet and soundtrack CD that chronicled the first 25 years of Mario's existence. Well, the game itself is honestly a bit of a rip-off, seeing as this is literally just a ROM of the SNES game. The booklet was very cool, especially at the time, when Nintendo had never done this kind of thing before. Nowadays, I think we all kinda know those old Super Mario sketches. They were even shown again in the 40th anniversary introduction, but in 2010 this was like a century-old vault was finally being opened. Special celebratory versions of the Wii and DSi were also released, with the exact color and bundled game differing per region, but of course red was most often seen, although Europe and Australia also received black and white consoles that packed in Mario Kart Wii. Several interviews with the original game's creators, especially Miyamoto, were released on Nintendo YouTube channel and the Wii's Nintendo channel, and Miyamoto came to the Nintendo World Store in New York, where he cut a special cake and watched Mario Bros. Speedrunner Andrew Gardicus attempt to beat his record time. He failed, unfortunately. Furthermore, Nintendo partnered with several companies to release unique products in certain regions of the world. For example, in Japan, a commemorative book was released, which contained an exclusive interview with Miyamoto. Toys R Us released special gift cards, Ruby's Costume Company a licensed Mario mustache prop, and only in Japan, special Mario-themed Chuck Taylor All-Stars were released in a collaboration with Converse. Club Nintendo also released a ton of limited merch, with the exact details depending on the region, and a special contest was organized for Flipnote Studio, a DSi drawing application. The challenge? Make your own Mario Flipnote. Winners would get their art commented on by Miyamoto, Takashi Tezuka or Yoshiaki Koizumi. This is, by the way, also where the Mario drawing song comes from, the song you hear now. It was composed for this contest and as such, Mario's 25th anniversary. All in all, this definitely feels way more like a proper celebration than Mario's 20th did, that's for sure. It was an actual event, but in the game department it was incredibly weak. A physical version of an SNES ROM, that's it. Like, I'd take Mario Tennis Power Tour over that. And mind you, this wasn't even Mario All-Stars plus Super Mario World, it was just the original Mario All-Stars. From a game perspective, it was very bare bones, but when looking at everything around the games, it kinda set the standard of what I think people expect from a Mario anniversary nowadays. And part of that is because it's really that train of thought that Nintendo continued on. Technically, the Year of Luigi should slot in here, as that too was a celebration of an anniversary, Luigi's debut in this case. But since this is a completely different kind of celebration and, well, my colleagues on YouTube have spent much more time talking about this one than all other anniversaries combined, I'm gonna skip past it and look at 2015 instead, the year Super Mario Bros. Turned 30. While this celebration was still light on actual games, there is no denying the game that was released for it was far superior to the ROM of Mario All-Stars and, dare I say, Mario Tennis Power Tour. Super Mario Maker was the cornerstone of the anniversary and honestly is the absolute perfect title for it. It essentially plays off what the Mario celebration has always been associated with, how the original Super Mario Bros. Came to be and how it was developed. Except now we could do it ourselves. 2 special amiibo were also released to coincide with the game, but just like in 2010, the majority of the anniversary's events happened outside of the video game sphere. There were several concerts and festivals held in Japan, all featuring Mario music, another soundtrack album was released there as well, and a huge book called the Super Mario Bros. Encyclopedia, detailing the entire history of the series, was announced for a worldwide release as well. In Japan, it did release in 2015, but overseas it took about 3 years, at which point we were closer to the next anniversary. Once again, Nintendo also teamed up with all kinds of brands for Mario-themed merchandise. There were Hot Wheels cars, Mario playing cards, clothing in a collaboration with Italian fashion brand Moschino, and even a luxury watch which cost you about $19,000. And here we were thinking Mario Kart World was expensive. But that aside, I think that once again, this anniversary falls very much in line with the standard Nintendo had set so far. Yeah, it's an event, something worth acknowledging, but it's not this massive company strategy with all these games involved. It's usually one game, a bit of a celebratory title, and that's it. And if you look at it through that expectation, then the recent 40th anniversary was actually very good, and had a lot of game-related announcements and cool little things as well, like the physical Rosalina storybook. And yet, the reception has been divided. Well, the reason for that is quite obvious. There has been one huge outlier in all these celebrations, and that outlier was Mario's 35th anniversary. Even though 35th isn't really this huge celebration most of the time, as far as Mario celebrations go, it was by far the biggest. It even had its own unique logo with a different style and all. But yeah, this one definitely created huge expectations for the 40th, to the point that I can understand it under-delivered a little. Just in terms of games alone, there were 4 new titles announced. That's more than the 3 past anniversaries combined. Sure, none of them were as cool as Super Mario Maker, I'd argue, but still. We had Mario Kart Home Circuit, a weird but interesting little game, Mario 3D All-Stars, which may be simply 3 ports, but was still very exciting to say the least, Super Mario Bros. 35, a very fresh take on the classic formula that also played with the anniversary obviously, as well as Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, probably the best title here. There were of course downsides, like the bizarre limited availability of Mario Bros 35 and 3D All-Stars, but game-wise this was easily the biggest anniversary yet. And then I haven't even mentioned the amiibo for Cat Mario and Peach, the limited edition Switch and the release of Game & Watch Super Mario Bros. Exactly the kind of weird merchandise these kind of anniversaries thrive on. And that still wasn't all the merchandise available, not even close. Puma released Super Mario 64 themed shoes. Clothing brands Champion and Black Milk came with themed clothing lines. Hasbro released Mario Monopoly and Jenga. Jakks Pacific came with an exclusive action figure, and the announcement of LEGO Super Mario was obviously huge. And then I haven't even mentioned everything Nintendo themselves did, like bringing back the Super Mario Compact Disco, a cult classic album with rap remixes of Mario tracks. There were plenty of events in all kinds of games. Nintendo ran contests worldwide where you could win minor Mario merch, and this series was even honored at the Game Awards, for no particular reason beyond turning 35 years old. Simply put, Nintendo pulled out all stops for this one, to an extent they have never done before, and as it is currently looking at least, don't plan to do every anniversary either. Because while it is of course still early to conclude exactly what Nintendo has up their sleeve this year to celebrate the anniversary, there's still time to go after all, the initial line of games and products revealed in the September Direct is definitely a tier below the 35th. Mario Galaxy 1+2 is cool, but in a world after Mario 3D All-Stars, it doesn't have the same hype level. Mario Wonder Switch 2 Edition also looks like it adds quite a lot, which is promising, but it's more DLC than a new game of course. I do personally think Mario Tennis Fever looks really good. I'm very curious how that will turn out, but I can fully understand that the sports games aren't everyone's taste. They're definitely no Mario Maker or Bowser's Fury, that's for sure. And when the new big title is actually a Yoshi game, no matter how great the art style looks, I can understand people coming off the 35th anniversary do feel a little let down. That said though, I do want to point out that not a single new mainline Super Mario game has ever released during an anniversary, so people expecting the new big 3D Mario game were definitely setting themselves up for disappointment. Mario Maker is, I would say, still the biggest anniversary title we've ever had, but it's still definitely not on the same level as a new 3D or even 2D Super Mario game would be, and those have simply never been a part of these celebrations. So please remember that when it's 2030 and we celebrate Mario's 40th, you will get a re-release of Mario 3D Land, a look at whatever movie is then upcoming, and maybe a new Wario game, and that's it. Don't let the hype get you next time. Nintendo treats these anniversaries more as events or general celebrations of Mario's place in pop culture, rather than a big moment that tie into new games. At least, that's the conclusion I see here. But how do you feel about Mario's 40th anniversary, assuming nothing major gets added to it later? Are you excited about the announcements or a bit disappointed? Share it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on all my future Mario content coming up. For now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.